Hello and welcome back to Anime Soreio. Today we'll recap an awesome anime called 3 Days of Happiness. Before that though, if you want to stay up to date with the best that the anime world has to offer, do subscribe to Anime Soreio and hit that notification bell to never miss a new upload from us. Now, let's get to the show. In the middle of summer festival, two 10-year-olds, a girl and a boy, are discussing their future about how in 10 years they will be able to smoke and drink and to get married. The boy is reluctant towards the thought of marriage, sharing how there are many things that he does not like about marriage. The girl nods along and offers a deal that if neither of them has found a partner by the age of 20, they could get together. Shocked and blushed, the boy was too stunned to speak, and the girl starts laughing, saying that it was just a joke and there's no way that a girl like herself would be alone by 20. Time moves forward and that boy is all grown up, part-time waitering in an outdoor restaurant, apologizing for the 19th time for messing up in the same day, and while bowing down, he fell unconscious. Next day, he wakes up in his room with a text from his manager, advising to rest for another day. He decides to have breakfast, but his refrigerator was all empty, just like his wallet. All he had in his room were the many secondhand books and CDs he purchased, no TV, no computer. He packs his books and CDs in 2 bags and heads out. The weight of books and CDs along with bright, shiny sun and empty stomach is not something he was enjoying. Nonetheless, he reaches the first destination, the bookstore, and hands over the books to his old store manager. Manager inquired the reason for selling these books, and the guy replied that paper does not make a good meal and lacks the nutritional value, being straightforward that it's the cash the bro needs. After about 30 minutes of evaluation, old man hands over the money and asks him if he wants to solve his money problems. The manager had no interest in knowing why and since when was he facing these problems. However, if he is interested in earning a lot of money, the manager suggests instead of selling books, he could sell his lifespan. Manager himself was old, so he obviously couldn't sell his lifespan, but to his knowledge, it pays well. He writes the address of the shop that buys lifespan on a paper and hands it to the guy. There are no fixed rates, and there is a metric that decides the worth, and the old man figured that this guy has decent looks and a good taste in books, so that might be of some value. The guy kept thinking about old man's suggestion, wondering if it was actually true until he reached his next stop, the CD store. The CD guy gave the same reaction as bookstore clerk, and the guy told him about the money problem. The CD guy also saw that the guy has good taste in music, so he shared that he could solve his problems by selling his lifespan. The details he shared were similar to the ones given by the old man, but this guy seemed to have, in fact, sold some of his lifespan. He too shared the address of that shop. The guys matched both addresses and they were exactly the same, so he decided to at least have a look at this shop. He was still skeptical, but the curiosity got the better of him. As he entered, he saw empty counters and empty shelves, and the lady shopkeeper, all suited up, approaches the guy and gives him 3 options, whether the guy wanted to sell his time, health, or his lifespan. The guy was shocked at how casually she just asked the weird question and answered that he is here to sell his lifespan. When the guy first heard about selling lifespan, it immediately took him back to the morality lesson from elementary school, where the teacher asked the class if people could sell the most valuable, irreplaceable thing, their life, how much would it be worth? The brightest girl in the class raised her hand and answered that a salaryman earns about 100 million to 300 million yen in their lifetime. So that's what their life would be worth. The answer was correct, but the teacher wanted everyone to think for themselves, and she rephrased the question, asking directly how much would the life you all will be leading be worth? However, selling all the life would obviously result in death. But what if there's an option of selling 30 years from your 60-year lifespan? She told them in advance that there is no right answer. Everyone had different answers. Some gave themselves a value of 300 million yen. A girl stood up saying that assigning a value to a life is inhumane. The class clown made a self-sacrificing joke that no one would even pay 300 for his life. The protagonist was simply enjoying everyone's answer, not really giving a serious thought to this question. 10 years later, he did in fact sell his lifespan and learned its value. While waiting for evaluation, he tried to make a lowball estimate of how much his life was going to be. When he was a kid, he made a huge estimate of 3 billion yen, but now he decides to make a modest estimate of 300 million. The lady shopkeeper called Kusonoki by his name to let him know that the evaluation is over. It was surprising as he has not given them his name or any information, but this is a shop that buys lifespan. He could not expect anything to be normal here. The estimated value for his lifespan was 300,000, literally 0.1% of his modest estimate. Even if he lived for 80 more years, he could only make 24 million in total. The shopkeeper adds that he was given the bare minimum of 10,000 yen per year, as he only has 30 years and 3 months of his life remaining. He could leave with 300,000. The factors that affect this value are happiness in life, achievement of dreams, and contribution to society. Ultimately, Kusonoki decided to sell off all 30 years of his life, keeping only 3 months to himself. It was his childhood dream to grow up to be a famous person, and he would always look down on other children, reason being the perfect scores he always used to get. However, he had to share the title of #1 with Himeno, the smart girl mentioned earlier. On the bright side, they both could talk to each other on the same level, and since they were neighbors too, they became close childhood friends and often played together. Himeno is the same girl that proposed the idea of marrying each other if they still are single by the age of 20. The next day, doorbell rang, and at the door is the girl who evaluated Kusunoki's lifespan yesterday. Miyagi was appointed as Kusunoki's observer from today onwards, and will be staying with him from now. Miyagi explained that most of the people who sell their lifespans get desperate when they are down to a year left and try to cause trouble. To prevent such situations, observer system was established for the people who are on their last year. If a person still tries to cause more trouble, the observer would immediately contact headquarters and have that person's life terminated on the spot. So technically, Miyagi was just one call away from ending Kusunoki's life. She asks him to pretend that she is not here and carry on with his life, as he usually does. She will remain to be his observer till Kusunoki only has 3 days left, as most people lose the will to trouble so close to death. The next day, Kusunoki wakes up and tries his best to not mind her while Miyagi's eyes are glued to him. He took a train to a cafe where he treats himself to a nice meal, and after returning home, he sat down with a pen and notebook to write down the things he wants to do in these last 3 months. His list included not going to school, not doing any work, eating some tasty things, writing a will, meet and talk with Naruse, and telling Himeno how he feels. Miyagi stepped up and advised against one, telling Himeno how he feels. Miyagi shares that Miss Himeno barely remembers him and the promise she made at the age of 10. Kusunoki, surprised at the depth of her knowledge, asks if she knows about his future too, and Miyagi denies, saying that what she knew are the possible futures Kusunoki would have had, but they are now meaningless as he has sold his lifespan. Given how his life summary was filled with Himeno, telling her about his feelings would just spoil his memory of her. Kusunoki acknowledged Miyagi's effort to prevent him from getting hurt, but he still wants to be free in his actions. Therefore, Miyagi should not meddle. With a sad look on her face, Miyagi apologized and promised that she would not stop him as long as what he wants to pursue does not trouble others. Kusunoki left the house to make a phone call to Wakana. Miyagi, of course, follows him. Kusunoki was bored and wanted to interact with a human being, a normal one, not an observer, so he calls Wakana, the girl he met in an old bookstore in April. Later, they met again at college and ultimately started having long conversations about music and books over lunches. She was the only girl in college to show some interest in Kusunoki. However, he kept a blunt attitude with her. The reason was to not let her become too hopeful about them, as he already made a promise to Himeno. They did exchange phone numbers though. There was no answer to the call, so Kusunoki left a message asking if she wants to go out with him tomorrow. The message was not sent due to some issue, and now the last ray of hope in Kusunoki's eyes, the only person who could have loved him, cannot be reached as well. He lights a cigarette and afterwards heads to the supermarket. While he was shopping for groceries, he noticed that Miyagi too was shopping for her groceries, and that gave him a weird happiness. A boy and a girl who live together and are out on a shopping trip. To Kusunoki, it was a ridiculous but happy hallucination. Even though he did not approve of someone constantly observing him, but having someone with him made him happy. It was like a secret desire of living with a girl, shopping together and having beers coming true. Back at home, Kusunoki offered her to drink, but she refused as she could not drink while on duty. Miyagi had been writing something, so Kusunoki inquired what she was writing. It was a record of all his actions. Kusunoki told her that he is really drunk, and Miyagi nods that it is obvious. Kusunoki got all high and started the famous "I'm gonna change something" speech while slamming the beer can on the table, indicating that he is fully motivated. He decided that he will get back at this world. Before he could continue, Miyagi interrupted him, saying that this is not new. Everyone says that, thinking they could do anything once they have noticed their mistakes. She further explains to him that the reason his lifespan was sold for 300,000 was because in those 30 years, he failed to accomplish anything. Someone who couldn't accomplish anything in 30 years can change nothing in 3 months. 3 months are too short to change anything, but they're also too long to do nothing. Miyagi's words hit Kusunoki and he realized that she was right. To stop him from getting his hopes up, he asked how would he have spent those 30 years he sold. Miyagi agrees to share, reminding that what she is about to share were only possibilities and they can never actually happen now. Kusunoki's time in college passed in the blink of an eye while reading, sleeping, listening to music, and barely keeping up with the bills. He graduates without learning anything special and ironically ends up in the line of work he hated the most. Working his body to the limit, the only good thing in his life was the drinking. He continued a major part of his life like that until late 30s, when he adopted a hobby of riding around a motorcycle, out of loneliness. Motorcycle ride is a thrilling but dangerous hobby, and he got into an accident. The only one to get hurt in the collision was himself. He lost half his face, the ability to walk, and majority of his fingers. The thought of suicide came to his mind many times, but the hope of something good happening kept him alive. This false hope carried him to the age 50, when he died alone, in shambles, with nothing. Loved by no one, remembered by no one, and with regret that his life should not have been this way. Once Miyagi was done, Kusonoki was relieved that he sold off those 30 years and avoided such a sad fate. Sounds of fireworks were heard from the window, which piqued Miyagi's interest as she moves towards the window. Seeing how Miyagi could also be interested in such things, Kusonoki tried to enjoy the moment by making fun of her, questioning whether she should be keeping an eye on him. Miyagi asks him if he wants her to watch him, and Kusonoki denies, saying that he wants this observation to be gone as soon as possible because it makes it hard for him to do anything. Kusonoki adds that if he knew he would get an observer, he would have sold off all except his last 3 days. Miyagi responds that it is possible, as every individual is allowed to make 3 transactions, so he could use this option if her presence bothers him this much. Kusonoki considered the offer, but he still believed that something good might happen. The 3 months to come would at least be different from those 30 years. During the night, Kusonoki is having trouble sleeping because of the sweet scent of Miyagi's shampoo that is bringing wild thoughts into his mind. He used the music of Unsold CD to get back to sleep. Next day, Kusonoki is sitting with his to-do list in front of him. His attention diverts when Miyagi asks what he wants to do today. Kusonoki noticed that in terms of appearance, Miyagi was exactly his type. If it was an ugly, dirty, middle-aged man instead of her, Kusonoki would have been more at ease, but with Miyagi drawing all his attention to his desires and miserable hopes only causes undue embarrassment to him. Miyagi asks if the things on the list are really what he wants, from the bottom of his heart, or are they just what most of the people would desire if they knew they were dying. Kusonoki nodded in agreement that there is not anything he really wants to do. They figured that the best method to find out what he wants is by thinking cheaper, more impudent, more vulgar, and by following instincts. Kusonoki picks up his phone and calls Naruse and plans a meetup. On their way, Miyagi asks him to take a good look at the rainbow, as this might be the last rainbow he would ever see. This got him to thinking that anything he experiences right now might be last. Between now and the time he dies, how many CDs would he listen to? How many books would he read? How many cigarettes he would smoke? Meanwhile, they reach the restaurant and there arrives a young guy about Kusonoki's age, and that's Naruse. And with this sneaky cliffhanger, our recap comes to an end. Wow, this show really makes one question about the way we live our lives. What do you guys think will happen next? Do let us know in the comments, as we'd love to hear from you. And as for everything else, please like, share, and subscribe to Anime Soreio for more awesome content like this on your feed. With that said, see you in the next one. Peace!